I've known Spyro 2 longer than I've known almost anyone. One of my earliest memories is of watching my older sister fight Crush on her little CRT television. Everything about this game is burned into my brain. The dated, low-polygon models, the bright, saturated colors, the harsh consonants in the early cutscenes.
Calm down, Hunter, and stop fidgeting.
I can't bring myself to play the Reignited trilogy. I need the whole package to scratch that nostalgic itch. As a kid, I would mess around in the early parts of Tomb Raider 2, Crash Bandicoot 2, Breath of Fire 3. We had a lot of sequels. Crash 2 and Spyro 2 are both 3D platformers, but I found Spyro more approachable. Crash is made of claustrophobic hallways with death pits and enemies that kill you on contact. Spyro is made of wide open fields with enemies that aren't slathered in killing juice. The first enemies you see run away from you without attacking. Both games have a floating companion to indicate your health. Without your companion, you die in one hit. Crash starts his levels without the companion. He has to break a special box to earn his shield. Spyro starts with his buddy Sparks at full health, ready to take 3 hits. These abundant, helpless animals contain butterflies Sparks eats to heal. Spyro can take a few hits, but he's also pretty quick. Sonic the Hedge hogs all the accolades for rolling around at the speed of sound, but Spyro's no sloth. His charge is quite satisfying. When you're experienced, you can blitz through entire levels. When you're a beginner, you can run away from enemies you don't understand. Except the sharks. They will always find you. Overall, Spyro was easier on my little child brain than most other games. We also had the Primus Strategy Guide. These were walkthrough books you could buy for real American dollars before GameFAQs made them obsolete. But while GameFAQs is all text, this book has little screenshots and full-color 3D renders. Where else would you find Spyro angrily enjoying some pink lemonade? With the guide by our side, Spyro 2 was the first game my sister and I completed to 100%. And then the guide did us dirty in the end, so I'm actually glad GameFAQs took over. I'll explain later. For now, here's how the game works. You run around collecting gems. That's the core gameplay loop. You're a dragon, and dragons love treasure. Along the way, there are enemies. Because you're a dragon, you have a flame breath attack. Your charge, which we discussed earlier, is also an attack, very economical. Most of the time, metal guys can't be flamed, and big guys can't be charged, so act accordingly. Toward the end of the game, you get a head bash, which is useful for exactly one enemy and one kind of gem crate. As a 4-legged dragon, Spyro can't do the quadruple jumps and pirouettes of a skilled Mario player. Honestly, even going up the stairs is kind of a chore, but he makes up for this vertical weakness with horizontal agility. You know charging by now, but Spyro can also glide and hover, which gives you reach and precision. In one of the top 100 moments in gaming, you can jump off a castle tower and glide across an entire level. We've seen some typical dragon moves, but Spyro can also swim. The swimming mechanic is the best in any game I've played, and I've played at least 8 video games. I think when designing a game, it's easy to believe that swimming should be strenuous like it is in real life. The player should have to wade through molasses and come up for air every 10 seconds. Insomniac didn't bother with realism. They made Spyro just as fast in water as on land, to great success. Swimming like a torpedo through this secret tunnel is a total nostalgia rush. I've given 2 examples of moments I cherish, and they're both in the hub worlds, gardens of peaceful solitude where you can rest between levels. The secret tunnel is in Summer Forest, the big glide is in Autumn Plains. The music you're hearing right now is from Winter Tundra. These 3 worlds are my happy place. They're a relic of a time when walking around a virtual world to pick a level was still bold and innovative, before every AAA game was the size of Rhode Island. A normal person might compare these hub worlds to Central Park or Boston Common. I find big transfer stations relaxing, so they're my Times Square station. The hub worlds have ambient soundtracks that fit the atmosphere perfectly. They're my favorite tracks in the game, which I recently learned is kind of an insult to the rest of the soundtrack. Stuart Copeland, the game's composer, used a lot of sample packs. That's no sin, game composers do this all the time. There's a useful video on youtube.com listing many of the samples used in the Spyro trilogy. For the hub worlds, he took 3 samples from a pack called Distorted Reality 2 and slowed them down.
They pay me for this.
In the age of slowed plus reverb videos, I don't mind this so much. To paraphrase Adam Neely, anyone could have done this, but Stuart Copeland did. He also clearly worked a lot harder on the rest of the soundtrack, but what makes the music great is context. I wouldn't play these tracks on a road trip, but if you're blessed with the gift of hearing, this is the sound of Spyro. Packaged with all this music is a video game about collecting things. Gems are the most common collectible. They can be extracted from crates and vases through the usual attacks: flame, charge, head bash. These vases are fireproof. These green vases, typically found underwater, are actually not fireproof. There are also these exploding vases, which can hurt you if you're not careful. They can also do this. It wasn't until I played Enter the Dragonfly, the first game that ever disappointed me, that I realized gem placement is an art. You don't want to carelessly throw gems across an open field. In the good Spyro games, you see them at points of interest, along the edges of walls, and hidden in nooks. This encourages the player to explore the level. When gems are scattered randomly, it just feels like you're cleaning up someone else's mess. In this game, there are exactly 10,000 gems. Like many real-world banknotes, each colored jewel is worth a different amount of gems. When you pick up a gem, its value bounces around, which is neat. Also, like real money, gems don't respawn after you collect them. I actually like this. Collectathons like to wall off progress until you've collected enough shiny objects. When they respawn, a game might think it's reasonable to make you spend an hour grinding for shiny objects to get all the golden spatulas, as the kids say. Instead, you have money bags. The instruction manual and the strategy guide are both pro money bags, but the people of his home country would call him a right bastard. Now's a good time to explain the plot. Spyro is trying to vacation in Dragon Shores, but he gets abducted really, by a group of strangers. They need a dragon to save their homeworld from this little Tyrannosaurus named Ripto. You find out later that one of them accidentally summoned him.
What?
Ripto comes by and destroys Spyro's only way home, so he has to help. Spyro spent the entire last game retrieving a stolen hoard of gems. He's stuck in this unfamiliar world, and the only thing he recognizes is these freaking gems. He gets to collecting, comes across a cool cave, when suddenly...
Ah, you must be the dragon everyone is talking about. Well, dragon or not, I'm afraid there is a small fee to open the bridge. It will cost you 100 of your gems to cross.
Buddy, I was trying to go on vacation. It's bad enough that he's the gatekeeper for this involuntary quest, but later on you find out he's also an arms dealer.
I persuaded that fat bear Moneybags to sell me a few bombs.
Moneybags will try to extort 41% of all of the gems in the entire game. There are two other collectibles, Talismans and Orbs. The game teaches you the value of talismans right away by dropping you into a regular level and blocking entry to the hub world until you get the talisman.
This magic portal next to me will take you to Summer Forest, one of the homeworlds of Avalar.
In each level, you talk to the NPCs and solve whatever problem they have, which usually involves killing a bunch of creatures. When the people are pleased with your sacrifice, they present you with a talisman, which you stick in your guidebook like some kind of mercenary tourist. There are 14 talismans, 6 in the first hub world, 8 in the second. When you collect all the talismans in the hub world, you get to fight a boss. This means you have to visit every level in these hubs to finish the game. Crush is a pushover, but he's still a better boss than any of the ones in the first game. Gulp is the only boss that killed me in my most recent run. The prize for getting 100% completion makes this fight trivial, so I don't have a lot of practice against him. The fight against Ripto, the final boss, is gated behind orbs. If talismans get you in the door of a level, orbs get you exploring further. They're side quests you get from talking to NPCs. There are 64 orbs, presenting the game's hardest challenges and its biggest weakness. The way the Spyro trilogy tries to be difficult is annoying. I enjoy Spyro's controls, but his moveset isn't conducive to platforming challenges, so the game has to find difficulty in variety. I have no problem with minigames in principle. I still find comfort in the easy orbs like paragliding through rings and icy speedway. I also spent 20 hours playing Deltarune instead of working on this video, and that game loves throwing curveballs. The difference is that Deltarune is a linear-ish game with a coherent difficulty curve, whereas the minigames in Spyro are all over the place. This game tries to use this 5-star difficulty system, but they got rid of it in the sequel. When your game relies so much on variety, you can't say a given challenge will be 4 stars for every player. I bet most people would say this horrible challenge should be 5 stars, but maybe someone likes it. The most annoying thing is that you'll do a specific minigame at most twice. The first time around is pretty easy. Save these 3 turtles, flame these 8 lizards, get 10 crystals before Hunter. No big deal. I can do these on my first try with plenty of room for error. Then, for the second half, the developers ask themselves, what's the most unreasonable version of this challenge? Save 10 turtles instead of 3. Make these 2 lizards run as far away from you as possible. Make Hunter 100 times better at finding crystals. Some people think these 2-orb challenges are padding, duplicating tasks to get the orb count to 64. I think they're bad for a different reason. It's hard to get comfortable with all the things you're expected to do. Yes, this game has escort missions, and yes, there is trial and error memorization. These are cardinal sins of awful game design, and those minigames belong in the toilet. But this sort of thing isn't always terrible. Flaming these lizards sucks, but with a top-down perspective where you can see more of the map at once, we get a bit closer to Hotline Miami. That's a difficult game that lets you enter the flow state without asking you to have the patience of a speedrunner. Chaperoning this idiot alchemist as he bumbles his way into every Earthshaper sucks, but his path is the same every time. I couldn't possibly compare this to Hotline Miami, but there might be a version that's faster paced and easier to reset, that's compelling and not just frustrating. But we're a long way from that in 1999. We need to pad this game's runtime and sell strategy guides. Is it worth going through all this trouble? You get every gem, every talisman, every orb, all for what? A power-up? What's that? I didn't explain those. There are gates in every level that augment your gameplay. You can get a super flame, a super charge. You can fly, become invincible, do a big jump, and get ice breath. Your prize for 100% completion is a permanent super flame. Not much of a prize until you exit the game and start a new game plus over your save file. Now you have a baseball made of hellfire for the entire game. It works underwater too. Scared of these sharks? What sharks? These Earthshapers? What Earthshapers? Gulp? I hardly know, Ulp. Here's how the strategy guide ruined my sister's life. Keep in mind that I was a child reading this with my sister. This is a book for children. If you turn off the PlayStation, simply load your 100% game, then start a new game and you will have the power-up. I know what this means now, with 20 years of hindsight. Do these instructions if you turned off the console and are turning it back on. There are much better ways to explain this. I said one just earlier. Exit the game and start a new game plus over your save file. You should not restart the PlayStation. If you do, and you don't load the save with the Super Flame first, you will lose it when you overwrite the save file. This is a problem with the game, which should keep better track of this, and it's a problem with the guide for not making this extremely clear. I will never forget the look my sister gave me when all her progress was totally erased. All glory to GameFAQs.